Hi, it is Tootie Tagerly, Tuesday at noon, adjusting my microphone still. But excited because I hit my noontime date and talking to you today about creating your personal brand. So, almost a decade ago, I worked as a brand strategist. And what that meant is I worked for a design firm, and what we did was we helped companies come to us who came to us. Sometimes they're startups, sometimes they were giant companies launching new products and product lines. And what we did is we helped figure out what their brand strategy and branding is. And so many times, I'm going to ask you if you hear something like branding and personal brand, what the heck do you think it is? Most people think that, well, if I need branding, it's because I need a website and I need colors for the website and some copy and a logo, and maybe that expands to my social media marketing. But that isn't actually your personal brand. It can be part of it. It can be the output of it. And that's what most clients came to us for. They wanted a new product, a new website, just a feel of what they stood for, what their experience, what their brand stood for. But the secret is that's not what really matters. That's the output. That's the thing on the end. And there's actually a lot more that goes in the beginning and throughout the process of personal branding that I find super fascinating. Um, and a lot of times you might be thinking, what the heck? Why would I need a personal brand? That's a businessy thing. That's for other people. That's not for me. And I'll give you 3 use cases that goes from like big to small and maybe more relatable to less relatable. The first thing is brands are useful when you are a celebrity, a creator, an influencer, whether you're someone like Oprah or Gwyneth Paltrow or the myriad of other creators who make their living on YouTube, whether it's doing makeup videos or game streaming on Twitch, all of these. So that makes sense for some of these people to have a personal brand. In other cases, I support a lot of startup founders and CEOs. I recently gave a talk on Clubhouse for 500 startups on behalf of 500 startups, which is what is your personal brand? How do you find your personal brand as a founder and CEO? And why this matters is you can imagine if you have a startup that it's a business, you want to have the brand of the business, you want to talk about the products and the clients and the services, and you have a marketing department that does all that. But guess what? People care about stories. And that's why the brand of the founder is as important and perhaps even more interesting than the company brand, because people want to learn how did she start her company? What made her decide to start this company? How did she figure out who she wanted her co-founders to be? How did they come up with the company's name? All of these stories and are the nuances that make us human, and that's what we care about. We want to hear stories about other people. We want to hear stories about other what other people have done. So that's why the first use case was a celebrity or influencer. The second is this use case of a startup founder, co-founder. So the third use case that you might be wondering is, well, what about me? What about me as a regular person? Well, guess what? Your brand is already out there. It's out there in the tweets that you might make, the things that you might put on Instagram, what you like, the article you reposted, all of that. And then you say, but what if I'm not on social media? I don't do that. Yet the other part where I'd almost ensure every single one of you has a piece of personal branding is your resume or CV. You see, brand is simply how other people view you. It's when you are at a company and you get your performance review and your boss says, hey, you are really good at being data oriented and very detail oriented and articulate and communicative. That's your personal brand. And you put it into a document, which is your resume or CV when you're looking for a job. It's presenting yourself in the best light so that other people can judge you and decide to hire you or not. So personal brand is not just website colors, logos, or social media messaging. It's instead it's how people view you in the world. And so I urge you to be more intentional about thinking about your personal brand. Um, your brand is what you stand for and what matters the most to you. An exercise that I go through with most new clients when I start with them is to understand a foundational sense of what do you stand for and what matters most to you. And we typically start with values. Values are ways, words, phrases that you live your life. They help provide a touchstone to help you decide, all right, is this something that I stand for? Am I willing to fight for this? And values can be things that are stuff that have been with you your entire life. So I've had adventure as a value my entire life. I've had challenge as a value my entire life. I love change and excitement and doing different things. That's the adventure that is. And I love challenge because there's a part of me that can be really bullheaded. I want to push through and persevere, and I want to do the hard things. Those have been foundational values for me. Another value that I have is family. It refers to my immediate family, my mom, my daughters, the people I love around me, but it also refers to my work family, the people I choose to collaborate with, the people on my team when I work in corporate, and that sense of, hey, I'm here, I'm a mama bear, ready to take care of my family. The other part of what you stand for and what matters most to you, it could also be aspirational. One of my values that I continually struggle with is something that I borrowed from my coach training principles. It's called dance in this moment. And for me, it means being more present, understanding what's happening and grounding right now, and really focusing on the ease and flow, the dance and playing of that, rather than continually looking forward. What's next? What's the next goal? Or looking backwards to like, oh, here's all the shit I should have done. I should have said this differently. I should have acted differently in this particular situation. So one way towards your personal brand is identifying your values and what matters the most to you. Another way, one other thing I wanted to say about that is that in tech companies, there has been a trend over the past, I don't remember, 2, 3, 4 years of people creating a user manual. And yes, this is very tech company like. So you can imagine and this is me making up a story, but you can imagine a frustrated manager saying, people don't know how to work with me. What do they need? Oh, they need a user manual for how to work with me. So I am going to pull together a user manual and say, this is what I like. I like starting meetings on time. I like people to be very direct, very transparent. So I'm completely mocking that. However, honestly, I found this notion of creating your own user manual to be really, really helpful. As a leader, it lets people know your values, what you stand for, what matters most to you, how to work with you, what drives you crazy, what you're working on, what your areas for growth are. And I've heard feedback when I've taught workshops that, man, this user manual thing seems super arrogant. It's telling everyone else how they need to adjust to work with me. But I actually say it's not. Similar to your resume example that I talked about earlier, there's your implicit brand. There's your implicitness of how you are. Creating something like a user manual simply makes it a little bit more explicit. It makes it easier for other people to work with you. All right, so your brand is what you stand for and what matters most to you. What else is your brand? The next thing I want to talk about is your brand is your people. Your brand is the people you choose to hang out with. It's the people you click with. You might work with, I don't know, tens, dozens of people, but there's a certain number of them who are your people. You really like them. It can be certain peers, certain members of your team, certain bosses or ex-bosses, people you mentor, people who have mentored you. Your brand is your people. This is why in companies, we talk a lot about women having mentors and sponsors to help raise up people who don't have as much of a voice. And that's what women, people of color really need in workplaces. The other thing, if you're like, well, maybe I don't have people or a personal brand, your brand can be the people you admire. It can be the celebrities. It can be the Michelle Obamas, the Anthony Fauci, leaders who you see around you, who you admire. Doesn't have to be people you exactly know. And this helps you develop a sense of who are these people who are around you. And for entrepreneurs, since I know that some of them are my clients and co-founders, this is where there's the overlap between personal brand and business brand, because a lot of times, especially in product design, we'll start first with asking the question, who's the user? Who's the people that you support? Who do you help? Who do you support? And what do you do for them that only you can do? So branding, I suppose, what I tell people is that I'm a leadership coach. I help people in tech, whether it's leaders in corporations like the Google, Facebooks, Amazons, Airbnbs, all the large and small startups, as well as startup CEOs and co-founders. I help them figure out who their best sense of leadership is from a strength-based perspective. I help them get unstuck when they feel like they've been high achievers and pushing their entire life, but now they feel like, wait, something's wrong. And then as part of that unsticking, I help them through career transitions. So my people, my clients, are these people in technology who are overwhelmed and busy and stuck and are looking to make it to the next level in their leadership. Primarily at work, that's what they come to me for, but I expand it throughout their life. So with your brand is your people, as personal brand, it's how do you support and serve the people around you? If you're a manager at your company, what are you known for? Are you the caring, compassionate manager who will help be the shit umbrella and shade your people from all the crap that they don't need to deal with so they can get their work done? That's your brand. Your brand's your people, the people you support. Perhaps you're not a manager, but yet you mentor and help so many other people around you. That's part of your brand as well. The last part of your brand, because I think we're going a little long that I want to hit on, is your brand is your purpose. And this is both at work and outside of work. And purpose can be a really big word, even though it's not shown with a capital P here. Your brand is your role. It's what you do. Perhaps you're a designer and your role is to make some mocks. But perhaps your brand is more than that. Perhaps you're known for the most innovative, conceptual, zany work. Or perhaps you're known for meticulous, detail-oriented, getting things done on time. Or perhaps you're known for running experiments and being willing to do growthy things. And, I'm realizing purpose might not be the best word because you might not think that that's your purpose. But if you think about it in the work context, if you are in a deal to work for someone else, you're there to deliver value. So maybe this should be edited to be, that's right now, your brand is your value. Maybe, whatever. It's live, it's on the fly, that's what happens. So at work, that's an example of what a designer might do and what her brand is. Outside of work, it might be something completely different. She may be this badass triathlete who on the weekends, her passions are racing, maybe swimming, escape from Alcatraz. I live in San Francisco and there's an annual race where Alcatraz, the famous prison that's an island, people will race. They will swim from Alcatraz back to the mainland. Or perhaps your brand is the passions you have outside of work, whether it's mentoring and supporting other people, whether it is ice cream and finding the best ice cream shops or foodie havens all around the city. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it's continuing and like showing that to other people. It's the passions and the things that you value. All right. So we talked about what brand is not simply these artifacts, these outputs and things. Instead, it's really what you stand for, what matters most to you, your passions. It's the people you surround yourself with, and it's your purpose or value. So the call to action is make space, make time to express your personal brand. Spend some time to figure out what your values are, what matters the most to you, what your passions are. What do you want to be known for? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? And you can put all this in all the stuff. You can put it in your resume, you can put it in your social media, but you can create a user manual if you want, but you don't have to. I think what's the most important is being intentional and understanding and knowing what your personal brand is. Even though your brand is not just your website, you can see my website and you can read more. All right, I will see you next week. Chat soon. Bye.